Welcome to our session, Demystifying Complex Pricing with SuperTrump. We're so glad that you're here. My name is Scott Thacker. I'm the CEO of Ivory Consulting, and I'm here with my colleague.
And I'm Jeff Ellis, Vice President of Sales and Business Development, and it's great to see you folks in the audience.
So before we start, I'd like to say a special thank you to some of our customers who are with us today in the audience. We have appreciated your support and counsel over the years. I'd also like to say thanks to our partners, and also a major thanks to the folks at Salesforce who have helped us bring SuperTrump into Salesforce, which we just did 2 months ago. So today, we're going to talk about SuperTrump and the power of SuperTrump working with Salesforce together. We believe that we are the first and only software vendor specifically focused on the equipment finance industry to be part of Salesforce. And our vision for SuperTrump for Salesforce is to help you make the right moves as you're pricing, structuring, modeling your complex leases and loans. So you might wonder, well, what is this equipment finance industry all about? Well, one of the things that significantly drives the US economy is the acquisition of capital equipment. I'm sure all of you at some point in your business careers have had a chance to buy a piece of equipment, and perhaps you financed it with a lease or with a loan. If you did, you were part of the 72% of the businesses in the United States that finance their capital equipment purchases with leases or loans. In fact, over almost $1.3 trillion a year is invested in capital equipment. And so that means that $825 billion of that was acquired through a lease or a loan. And a good amount of this has been run through SuperTrump as the underlying leases and loans were structured. So we have a significant impact in the capital equipment market. You might ask yourself, well, what kind of equipment is part of that $1.3 trillion? It's everything. It's IT equipment, it's medical equipment, it's agricultural equipment, it's ocean-going equipment, oil tankers, any kind of equipment. Doesn't matter. But what you may not know is that the largest single category of equipment, well, actually asset, financed, is software. Software in and of itself, and software included in machinery, which is more and more common these days. Software outranks all of these other categories by a significant amount. It's a huge asset category. But it doesn't matter what you're leasing or what you're lending against, SuperTrump handles all of it. SuperTrump handles any kind of equipment that you might want to bring into a lease or a loan transaction. So if you think about it, if you're leasing a couple dozen locomotives, or if you're leasing 1,000 rail cars, or if you're leasing an ocean tanker, that sounds like a really complex thing to do, and it is. And for 30 years, we've been taking the pain of that complexity away for our customers because of what we have built inside of SuperTrump. These are just some of the metrics and some of the considerations that you have to think about when you're putting together and structuring a lease or a loan. Not only is it the type of asset, but you have to ask yourself, what metrics are you using to measure your business? Is it ROE? Is it ROA? Or maybe ROI? For example, MISF. Who knows what MISF stands for? Well, it's a fairly complex financial accounting concept. But SuperTrump handles it with aplomb. Not a problem. Very easy. So anyone who doesn't know MISF, if you're curious, please stay after. I'll explain all the details around it. But rest assured, SuperTrump handles it every day in and day out. So for 30 years now, we've been taking away the pain of structuring, modeling, pricing, and accounting for complex leases and loans for all of our customers who are working on a worldwide basis. And how do we do that? Well, we do that with our product, SuperTrump. SuperTrump's known for 4 things: accuracy, reliability, ease of use, and visibility. When I go out and talk to our customers, especially the people who have been responsible for purchasing SuperTrump over the years and continuing to purchase SuperTrump over the years, I ask, why do you buy? Why do you continue to buy? And the answer is always the same: accuracy. We withstand audits from Big Four and other CPAs all the time and never encounter a problem. And that happens day after day after day. Our software is put through its paces every day by salespeople and pricers around the world. It's always reliable. And it's very easy to use. We have 30 years worth of knowledge of how people model and structure and price leases and loans that we have put into the way SuperTrump works. Just think of how clunky it is to use an Excel spreadsheet and how risky it is because any formula can change with the flip of a finger. Not with SuperTrump. All of the vagaries, all of the inconsistencies, and all the risks of using Excel are eliminated when you use SuperTrump, and we've made it very easy to use. SuperTrump is also very visible. We have many, many industry standard reports that come out of the box with SuperTrump, but if you're using SuperTrump, as many of our clients do, as your competitive weapon, you may want your own set of reports, and so not a problem. We can take the pain away. We will code and create your own reports just for your business, exactly how you'd like to see them. And that data is always very visible. One of the great things about SuperTrump is, as we'll see in a minute, we have certain input fields and certain output fields. If you're structuring and doing what-if analysis, if you change something on an input field, it will automatically, immediately change on the output field, and you can see instantly what you've done to the transaction. And that's very important when you're on the phone or in a meeting with a client trying to get them to say yes to execute a lease or a loan. So you might ask yourself, who's using SuperTrump? Who's in charge of financing this $1.3 trillion worth of capital equipment? Well, we're very honored and we're very proud of the fact that we have 4 of the 5 largest leasing companies in the United States as customers. Not only 4 of the 5, but we have 30 of the top 50 on the Monitor 100 list. For those of you not completely familiar with our industry, the Monitor 100 list is the list of the largest leasing companies in the United States. So we're very pleased to have all 3 kinds of lessors using SuperTrump. We have the commercial finance division of banks who are doing lending and leasing, and we have the captive finance groups of the manufacturers in the United States. And we have independent leasing companies such as CIT all using SuperTrump. So it doesn't matter what kind of asset you're leasing or lending against. It doesn't matter what type of a leasing or lending company you are, SuperTrump works for you and takes away the pain of this complexity that is thought as leasing and lending. It's demystified for you every day. So one of the ways we demystify, and one of the ways we make it very easy for you to structure your leases and loans, is that we have a template-based system built into SuperTrump. And templates come in 2 forms. We have one set of templates that are in the product out of the box. When you install it, they're there. And these are the ones that everybody who's doing a lease or a loan needs to worry about. All the tax rules and regulations that are applicable. All the general accepted accounting principles that you need to focus on in order to know what kind of a lease it is. Not only that, the finance products that you might use in your business and the types of income and expense fees you incur with your financial transactions. And these are standard. But most businesses have a particular way of doing business. Most businesses only offer certain products. Most businesses might have a significant and widespread sales network or dealer network. And you want to control what those people are doing. So not only do you have the standard templates, but then when we install SuperTrump for you, we create the templates that you need to run your business. And so you know that your salespeople or your dealers or your partners or your vendors are only doing the kinds of deals that you want them to do because they must limit themselves to the templates that are available for them in SuperTrump. The other thing we do is we have key deal inputs. Once again, these are in the product. These are things that everyone needs to put into a lease or a loan when you initiate it. Things such as the asset, the finance product type, the residual value. Doesn't matter if the residual value is stated in terms of a dollar amount or a percent. And we have targeting. So it may be that when you're structuring a lease or a loan, the customer says, I want to spend $500 a month, well, in that case, you would target a return metric to see what you would earn on that deal. But on the other hand, your boss might say, I require a 10% return on investment. And so you would target for the monthly payment, and you would tell your customer, oh, I can get you this deal for $495 instead of $500, and everyone's happy, and you're signed up. So targeting is a huge and very useful way that we demystify this complexity in lease pricing. And then we have our statistic output screen. So think of this. On the left side, you're inputting all this information. Most of it's already templated for you. And then on the outside, you're seeing. And there's our friend, MISF. So what is that telling us? It's telling us, well, we have an 8.929 on a net pre-tax basis. The cool thing about it is, if you're in a template and you change something, if you're in a key deal input and you change something, the statistic page changes automatically. You don't have to hit a refresh button. And so as you're doing what-if analysis, it becomes very easy for you to work very closely and very quickly with your customer, thus solving some of the pain points of your customer, and also hopefully giving you a competitive position where you're not allowing anyone else to come into the deal because you're doing it quickly. You're closing it as quickly as you can when you're in front of the customer. So it's with all of this, the 30 years of SuperTrump, all of this industry information, that we now have come to the world of Salesforce. And we're proud to announce SuperTrump for Salesforce. Jeff's going to tell us a little bit more about that.
Thanks, Scott. We're excited to be able to bring all the power and the simplicity of SuperTrump to Salesforce. So you can now create, manage, track your quotes within opportunities inside of Salesforce. So we're leveraging the full value of the Salesforce platform. As Scott mentioned, you can do what-if scenarios. You can basically optimize your quotes using the SuperTrump user interface. You can access the targeting and the pricing and the structuring parameters that we were just talking about. And in addition to all of that, now that all your quotes and all your transactions are being stored and managed inside Salesforce, it produces a wealth of information for reporting and analytic purposes. So SuperTrump for Salesforce enables equipment finance organizations to rely on SuperTrump for pricing consistency and collaboration throughout the entire enterprise. Whether it's sales, whether it's sales management, whether it's pricers, whether it's accounting, whether it's tax, whether it's operations, it doesn't really matter. The entire organization pretty much now has full access to the value and the power of SuperTrump. From the power of visibility, to the ease of use, to the accuracy, to the reliability. So no longer do companies have to expend the time or resources trying to reconcile why there might be pricing inconsistencies throughout the organization due to using multiple pricing tools, or manually inputting data, which is inherently create risk, or the siloing of one system to another. So imagine now you have a salesperson at a customer site on their iPad using Salesforce One running quotes, and that same quote is accessible by somebody in the back office in your operations group, in your accounting group or whatever, who can review it, who can maybe make slight modifications. All this happens real time now. It's across the entire enterprise. An incredible value with the marriage of SuperTrump leveraging the Salesforce platform. And with this pricing consistency and collaboration, you can now realize the accelerated quote to fund process. How long does it take to get a deal done and booked, basically? Okay, you'll experience incredible efficiencies and productivity. You'll be able to deliver an enhanced customer experience because of the speed of service now being presented to your customer and how it works through the organization. And lastly, an extraordinary amount of business insight, this wealth of information that's now resident inside of Salesforce that allows you to assess what's working, what's not working, what needs to change, all with the objective of winning more business, more profitable business, managing risk, and also adhering to business and regulatory compliance. So with all of this in mind, we're going to spend the next few minutes sharing with you why a leading equipment finance organization in the United States is implementing SuperTrump for Salesforce.
So we're very pleased to announce our launch customer for SuperTrump for Salesforce is First American Equipment Finance. FAEF, as they call themselves, was founded about 20 years ago in Rochester, New York by Bill Verhelli. And Bill wanted a new vision for a leasing and lending business, and he focused on very high-touch customer service. And so when Salesforce first came out, which we now know is 15 years ago, Bill and his team were an early adopter of Salesforce, and they have Salesforce throughout their organization. They actually have a very highly customized version of Salesforce running their entire business, except for one spot, and that was modeling and pricing. So not long ago, probably about a year ago, First American was acquired by City National Bank from Los Angeles. And all of a sudden, they were faced with a huge pain point, which was 3 pricing tools. And nobody knew who was using which tool. When the deals got to the operations folks, they didn't know which deal was priced in which tool. And it all became very confusing. And so Bill said, I would love to have a pricing solution all on Salesforce. It is supporting my mission of high customer touch, and it supports my mission of speed and efficiency and processing in the company. So we said, great, SuperTrump for Salesforce is your answer. And in fact, the way it works is that, as you know, in Salesforce you create a quote. That's the first thing you do through an opportunity. And this is the standard object within opportunity. But then we have a new associated object with this, which we call our price quote object. That price quote object stays with your transaction throughout the entire life. All of the what-if analysis and any changes that happen middle term, and then, of course, when the deal is concluded, you always have this price quote object. And what's really great about it is, if it takes you 10 times of going back and forth until the borrower says yes, all 10 are saved in your Salesforce history. We also have the SuperTrump user interface. We created our interface over 30 years. What was that? Jeff, could I have some help, please? We created our user interface over 30 years of understanding how people price deals. And that has been brought into SuperTrump for Salesforce. You now don't have to worry about using a Salesforce screen that you've never seen before if you're a SuperTrump user. If you're not a SuperTrump user, well, we've designed the screen to be as easy as possible to use. We also have customizations. So almost every leasing company looks at modeling and pricing and structuring as their competitive weapon. And so quite often, we do customizations, and we did that for First American. And that's one of the reasons they were so pleased with how much value we brought into the organization, because they were able to have all their customizations come into their Salesforce and into their version of SuperTrump for Salesforce. So we have a single calculation engine. It doesn't matter whether you're accessing SuperTrump over SuperTrump for Salesforce, over an iPad, in the web version without Salesforce included, on a desktop or on a laptop, which is the traditional way of accessing SuperTrump. You're always going to the same calculation engine. So multiple people within the organization can all work on the same deal and know that the calculations will all be the same. And that's one of the huge values in this solution that First American saw, because they can have salespeople on an iPad, and they can have operations people on a computer, and they can have all the salespeople in Salesforce, and everyone accesses the same calculation engine. And this is the biggest synergistic effect of all. You have all of the wonderful dashboards and reports in Salesforce, but you also have all of the great reports in SuperTrump. And so when you bring those together, you have a very clear, very visible, and very quick understanding of how you're making money and where you're making money, not only from a particular deal that you're booking at the moment, but from the whole accumulation of deals that you've booked over time. So there was a significant value that First American saw in taking SuperTrump for Salesforce, and it was summed up by Bill, who says he's seen speed and service go way beyond what he expected. And so far he's very, very happy with this solution, and he believes that this solution helps him focus and support his mission and his vision of high-touch customer service. So now let's see how we can access SuperTrump for Salesforce.
So this is our AppExchange listing. And again, this has been all about bringing the power and simplicity of SuperTrump to Salesforce. And what you have now is the proven solution for pricing and modeling leases and loans, working together with the #1 CRM solution in the world. If you want to learn more about the solution, you can go to our AppExchange listing, and that can be found pretty much by searching inside AppExchange the term SuperTrump, Ivory. You can also go to the Sales, Quote, and Order tab, or you can also find us under Financial Services. You can also contact us directly at sales@ivorycc.com, or you can write me directly, and we'll respond to you quickly. Thank you so much for your time today, and if there are any questions about what we've shared with you today, please feel free to ask a question. Yes?
What are some of the most used reports that you find that are related to pricing?
Sure. So you're asking about the SuperTrump for Salesforce or just in general? Yeah. Well, again, I mean, we have a whole litany in SuperTrump of industry reports, tax, financial, accounting reports. There's a whole range of them. We have reports that summarize the transaction by cash flows and assets. So SuperTrump itself produces a wealth of information about the deal, and that is still available in Salesforce. But then if I may, the next set of reports are Salesforce reports, where now you can run opportunity pipelines. Okay, how are my sales folks doing? How are my channels doing? And now I can associate real deal statistics to that pipeline. That's what we've heard from customers. That's a huge value add in terms of having SuperTrump for Salesforce, is the marriage of industry expert reports with the sales, the pipelines, the opportunities, what are the statusing of each of these deals. That's the richness of Salesforce. They come together.
The primary reports that are used most often, Dave, are the cash flow reports. So if you think about it, SuperTrump is meant to take a whole litany of uneven, unpredictable cash flows and optimize them against a certain target. And so most often everybody will use the reports that show all the various cash flows and non-cash flows. So depreciation, accelerated depreciation, what your tax payments look like when you're taking account of accelerated depreciation, the stip loss table, your residual value table, your early termination table, and then a table that shows all the debits and credits that you would record. The second set of reports that are most commonly used are what we call our check reports, our audit reports. So every number can be proved on a report. So if you come up with an MISF amount or an ROE, we can prove that number through a report that ties it back to the numbers that were used to calculate it. That's the second.
This is what we're seeing.
We have a whole variety of calendars, like any kind of that sort of thing. But I think we're getting the hook now.
Yeah.
So let's finish
Thank you.
outside.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thanks again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.